Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Shay Show, episode 5. We're going to be hopefully doing this every semester. We're going to be doing a semester review. And apologies for, my voice. This episode was supposed to come out the day it's being recorded, which is the 23rd of December. And I was planning to get 2 episodes out at the same month to make up for me missing, I think it was October, but never happened, or it's not gonna happen because I'm gonna probably save the episode that I had recorded in December or November. I'm gonna release that January. It is an episode with one of my track assistant coaches. So yeah, that'll be really exciting to do. I do wonder how monthly episodes are gonna go. I don't really have much personally I like to talk about. Maybe I'll just invite other people to talk about like certain topics and things like that. But we'll see. Where we're gonna be going over my fall 2025 semester review. Maybe I'll do one where I go over all the previous semesters then combined. Um, Without further ado, let's just kind of get into what this semester, like classes wise, and what I learned mainly, and because of the learning experiences, the things I take away, and things like that. So yeah, we're gonna go in alphabetical order. I took 16 credits. I'll go by. No, we'll go by just alphabetical order. I thought I was thinking about doing credit order, but we'll just do it by alphabetical order and the order that I see here listed on my monitor. So, the first class that is up on the review list is Darkroom Photography. Which when I took this, I thought I was going to be exploring like using a digital camera with lights and just having like being in a dark setting and how to use a camera in low light setting. And then I found out quickly that that's not what this was. It was actual like if you know what anything about what darkroom photography is, it's actually developing and basically kind of like an appreciation for how photography used to go before there was digital photography. So we had film cameras. I had a Canon AE1 that I was able to borrow from the school, and we had our own darkroom, so we got to develop the film, develop the paper, or not develop the paper, but print out the images. So yeah, the paper was developed because of the light that hit it. And overall, it was just kind of a fun experience. Definitely kind of mentally taxing because it was a night class. It was Monday and Wednesday for 3 hours, and it was basically after track practice. So I'd basically just go from practice to the classroom and warm up my dinner, and then go to work and grind. And it takes a lot of freaking patience to develop all the images and doing test strips and doing to get the correct like exposure and lighting and to yeah. So it was a lot of challenges and a lot of patience that I did not have all the time. Um, and definitely I had less and less throughout the semester because of the how mentally taxing the semester got. So, what we did in that class was the first thing that we did was basically just kind of get used to how the darkroom equipment goes. So we didn't even use a camera; we just used like objects on the paper, and that assignment went awful for me. So I'm not gonna talk about that one too much. Um, just because I really didn't like it and I really didn't try on it. And I didn't realize to like how like because I can remember coming in, I was like, oh, this is a critique. Oh, uh-oh. I was just kind of doing one to do one. Um, so yeah, that was kind of a L for me. But then first the first 3 roles were one was actually technically the first 2 roles were test roles of just getting used to the camera. And then the next 2 roles were essentially just basic photography stuff. So we had to do one focused on shutter speed and one focused on aperture, which if you don't know what that is, and I can explain it in camera terms. So basically shutter speed, well, first of all, to get it properly exposed, so the lighting correct in a photo, you need 3 things that go into it. Your ISO, which is the last part I'll explain. Your shutter speed, which is how fast the camera basically is like exposes the thing that takes the photo that when light hits it. So it exposes for however long. Usually it's like if you want fast shutter speed for sports photography or motion, um you want like 1/800th of a second. But if you want kind of slower, the slowest a human can hold it without it getting blurry from just hand shakiness is probably like 1/60th or 1/30th of a second. Um, and then you have aperture, which is basically how wide the lens is open. If that makes sense. So basically, there's like a glass part of the lens, and aperture essentially, the smaller the aperture, so f2.8, f4, gives a shallow depth of field and lets in the most light. Um, but if you want less light in, you have a higher f-stop slash aperture, but that makes the depth of field not shallow. So you want that for like if you're taking landscapes or like things like that. So, and then ISO is basically just kind of grain. I'd say it's like the overall sensitivity of the light to the camera. So yeah, but basically, yeah, that was all right. So we did one on shutter speed, and then the second roll was on aperture, which, as a sports photographer, this is something I'm all too familiar with. So I kind of just breezed through this. Oh yeah, so the third role I had then was landscape and cityscape. So basically just taking pictures of architecture and landscapes and environments. That one's pretty simple and pretty self-explanatory. I might show some of the images when I edit this that I took. We'll see. I'm not mega proud of a lot of the images just because it was a lot of like when I'm so used to digital photography, so I'm used to taking like 50,000 photos and then just getting like 200 that I can use. This one, it's like we had rolls of 24, and it's like within those rolls, maybe two are good, and you only have time to develop. So, yeah, if you can't tell, my voice is pretty still under the weather. I'm recovering from a cold. That's what I mean by I got sick. So my voice sounds actually awful right now. If I really try hard enough, I sounds pretty normal, but this is the last day I can actually record this episode before I go to away for the holidays, and I won't have like recording equipment, so I'm just getting this to edit out there. So yeah, apologies again for my ratchy voice because it just doesn't sound great, and I'm still kind of under the weather, I guess. But kind of going back to the overall roles that we did two more roles. The first one was something called painting with light, and it basically was you have the camera on for a really really long time in a very like pitch black room, and then you take like a flashlight, point at the camera, and then you can draw stuff with it basically. um so here are some examples of good things people did, not me. And then these are the ones I did, so not the greatest, but you can kind of get the general gist of it with painting with light. It was a very cool experience, but one that I definitely would want to redo again, and definitely more unique. I think to at least I wanted to explore like those. Like this is what I kind of like. As soon as we understood darkroom photography, I was like, oh, this is I assume the techniques we're getting into and like unique things that we can do with film. Not that you can't do this with digital photography, but it's just like I feel like this is truly more of like a darkroom kind of photography thing, and alternative techniques, I guess. And then the final one was portraits, with that, got explained to us the classic 3-point lighting and just overall getting portraits. So yeah, that wasn't too difficult, but overall, did well in that class. Didn't hate the class. I thought it was pretty fun. And overall, just a good experience and definitely a good one to take. I wouldn't necessarily rate it. I guess out of 10, I guess I'd rate this kind of like a 5, 6. It's not the highest, not my favorite class I've ever taken, but overall also wasn't bad. It was just time consuming in different ways that art classes aren't, because studio classes take a long, long time. All right. So this gets into our second art class and the last art class that is worth 3 credits at least. Um, if you also don't remember context, my major is double major in Christian ministries and leadership and digital media. So these I did about half the classes for digital media, half the classes for Christian ministries and leadership. So yeah, next is interactive design. Um, and this one is basically all about UI UX is how I describe it. It's basically interactive design sounds like the title. It's basically designing things that everybody interacts with on a daily basis. So whether that be iPhone stuff, or not iPhone specifically, but mobile device stuff or websites, or in some cases it could be games and other things like that. Basically, that's what we were designing. So the first thing that we did was to create a fake website for a font. And I actually really enjoyed this project. It probably was my favorite one out of the three that we did. Um, so we had three major projects in this class. The first one was a project based off of a font that we chose. And once again, I chose Helvetica. And I'm just going to pull it up on my other monitor so I can kind of describe to you. So I started out with kind of an intro video saying, like, hey, look, this is how much in use it is. It's all over around the world. It's on New York subways, things like that. Um, so you then load into it. And we had a history section where it is in use today, and then we had to create a fake store with fake merch, which that was really fun for me because I just created like the dumbest items. I basically created like Supreme items. So I have like uh Helvetica shorts, and it just says Helvetica on like the bottom leg, and it just says $100. Or I have a t-shirt that is or no, I have a bucket hat that's $1,000. I have a phone case that's 2 cents. What's my water bottle? 99 cents. So yeah, that was really fun to create. So then the next project that we did was a group project. And that project was, we got a task and a problem to solve. Our problem was basically focusing on group, or not group, college students' physical health and physical activity and nutritional health and all those good things. So we decided to make a nutrition app. And yeah, the biggest problem with that project was our colors. We could not decide for the life of us the correct color palette to choose. So that was very interesting. I think we chose like 4 to 5 different colors, like we went through. So that was very difficult. Um, but overall, we got the app done. I think our group technically got the lowest, but that's because of our phase B. And our phase B was just awful. But we also aimed for the moon and had to settle for the clouds. Like, we did not at all reach what we envisioned in our ideas. We had like a million different ideas, but with time and obviously the fact that we were using a thing called Figma, there's very limited things we can do. So yeah, that ended up being that. But overall, it was a good, fun project. My group was unfortunately not with any friends, but they were chill people. Shout out to them. Shout out Annika and Farha. If you guys somehow managed to stumble across this, I doubt it, but shout out to you guys. And making that project fun, and in some ways carrying me, because at times I just didn't have time to work on it because of other classes and things like that. But yeah. And then our final project was kind of like a whichever you want to choose. It was kind of a freelance. You get to decide what do you want to do. So I chose to do a gun violence awareness site, and with the purpose of telling the stories of gun violence survivors and spreading awareness about gun violence in America without inducing fear and inducing stress, but instead motivating change. I did this through a website, and it's actually a website that people can check out. It's not really good because it's meant for like a specific window size. It overall was just a really kind of like I don't want. It was a lot of research, and it was honestly at times very sad. The research, even though I kind of knew about the statistics and just how sad this topic is, especially in our country at this state. And the biggest thing as well is to avoid politics with this, because political spectrums are what causes, I think, the division, which causes nothing to get done. So that's kind of where I stand on that. I have my own political opinions. I'm not going to state them here just for right now. But it was also, I wanted to get, my original idea was to get people's stories and people from different sides of the political spectrum. But when I sent out the survey, not many people because I wanted to see the difference between the Messiah community, where I go to college, and my hometown community, the Sandy Hook community, which I got very little responses and very interesting responses, I'll say. I don't want to bash anybody for their responses because it's their opinion. They were just interesting, and what I expected, to be honest. But overall, it was a I realized kind of like my design style. It's very simplistic. It's very bold. It's very uh, corporate in some ways. So it was a little bit difficult to do something off those lines. But overall, it was a great time. It was a great fun. And that class was just kind of a good, fun studio class. And honestly, ways to distract myself from writing papers all the time and gives me something to kind of work on that uses my creative brain. I was saying this to someone that like digital media is probably the best major for me in terms of what I love to do. I was a huge STEM person in high school. I loved math. I loved just that, like solving equations, just because I was like, there is one answer. How do we get to that answer? Well, we'll figure it out. But I loved engineering. I loved problem solving. But I also loved being creative with graphic designs and editing and creating content. So this is digital media and graphic design is just a perfect way to when you get a task and you have a problem to solve and you have to come up with creative ways to solve that problem. And there is no one answer, which is good at times. And then you can just create that design and use your both parts of your brain, the problem solving brain and the creativity brain, to figure out the solution. The solution. So yeah, overall, I'd say interactive design was a good 7.5, 8 out of 10. Very difficult class because of a very difficult prof in the sense of her grading is very difficult. But overall, did well in that class. Got a good grade, I think, compared to other grades I've gotten from her. So yeah, and it was just an overall good time, good experience. But uh, so the next class I'm going to talk about is probably this and my the last class I'll talk about. My favorite class of I probably up there that I've ever taken. I'd say this is my third favorite class I've ever taken. In term First in terms of subject, third in terms of vibes and just overall. And that's interfaith leadership. But you'll see in about 3 seconds, I'm going to do a jump cut because my voice is getting tired, and I also want to give this class justice because this one and my other favorite class in this worship, it's a theology of worship class. I want to give that justice and just kind of really talk about what I learned in that class. So yeah, I'll see you guys in 3, 2, 1. And yeah, now we're back. After a lot of time and me trying to install Windows on my computer, as you can see, my background's different. That's because I'm reinstalling literally everything right now. But I'm gonna do this since it's almost 1 a.m. and I need to get this recording done before we leave. I leave technically today for California with my family for family vacation to see relatives out there. But I have my notebook here because I want to talk about the next class, like I said, Interfaith Leadership, that meant a lot to me personally. It was, like I said, I think my third favorite class overall, first overall in terms of subject. Um, so it was talking about how us as Christians interact. Specifically, I guess we focused a lot on the Abrahamic religions, so Muslims and or Islam and Judaism. Um, and it took a decent amount of time. Actually, I can launch Rocket League, so I can also free play still. Yay. Yeah, interfaith leadership was all about the way that we as Christians interact with Jewish and uh Islam. So it was very eye opening. It was very um, good in some sense to kind of get a reassurance on something that I was passionate about over the summer, which was how Christians interact with other non believers, which is counting technically interfaith because it's faith of the Christian to the faith of the nun. So, yeah, it was very different and very contradictory to, I think, what a lot of us would say or a lot of I guess not us, I guess it was very different. That's all I'll say. It was very different. It was a lot of fun to just be in that class and to just be with people that were like-minded and just having great conversations there. Looking back kind of at my notes, the first notes. Yeah, this is honestly a great one and kind of the overarching theme of the class and what we kind of stuck to, honestly. Christ shouldn't just be our message, but it should be our model and our method. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, honestly. But yeah, so something that we talked about a lot was we need to earn the respect to be heard. We as Christians, as the dominant religion,